I thought airports were anonymous places. People rushing, dragging luggage, half listening to gate announcements. Nobody paying attention to anyone else. That's why I agreed to meet Ryan there. Because it felt safe, temporary, like a place where nothing really belonged to anyone. I was wrong, because my husband turned that airport into the most humiliating moment of my life. And somehow, he did it without yelling, without touching me, without even looking angry. The affair had been going on for 11 months. Ryan worked with a consulting firm my company hired. Confident, funny, always traveling. The kind of man who made normal life feel smaller when he walked into a room. At least that's what I told myself. The truth was uglier. I liked the version of myself I became around him. Less responsible, less predictable. And eventually I stopped thinking about consequences because consequences never arrived. That's how affairs grow. Not through passion, through repetition without punishment. My husband Ethan never acted suspicious. That made everything easier. He trusted me completely. Or at least I thought he did. I understand now that trust and silence aren't always the same thing. Ryan had a conference in Miami. I told Ethan I had a weekend branding retreat in Orlando. Instead, I booked a flight to Miami under my maiden name. Hotel already paid for. Private suite. 3 nights. We had done this before. Carefully, methodically. I thought we were smart. People in affairs always think they're smarter than they are. The morning of the trip, Ethan kissed me goodbye in the kitchen. Completely normal. Coffee in one hand. Laptop bag over his shoulder. He even reminded me to text him when I landed. I remember feeling annoyed by how good he was. That sounds horrible now. But guilt often turns kindness into irritation. At the airport, Ryan met me near security. Baseball cap. Carry on. That stupid grin he always had when we got away with something. We acted casual. Not affectionate, not obvious. Just close enough that it felt exciting. Our gate was crowded. Delayed flight. People everywhere. Families, business travelers, kids crying. Normal airport chaos. And because of all that noise, I almost didn't hear my name. Claire? I froze. Not because I recognized the voice immediately, because of where it came from. Behind me. Close. Too close. I turned and saw Ethan standing there, holding 2 coffees. Calm. Perfectly calm, which somehow terrified me more than rage would have. Ryan stepped back instantly. That alone told Ethan everything. Not words, instinct. People reveal themselves fastest when they panic. "What are you doing here?" I asked. And even saying it now, I hear how guilty it sounded. Not surprised. Guilty. Ethan handed me one of the coffees. "I figured you'd want this before your branding retreat." Those quotation marks around branding retreat. That was the first crack. Ryan muttered something about getting food. And Ethan smiled. Actually smiled. Then said, "No, stay. This concerns you too." People nearby started noticing. Not dramatically. Just that subtle shift where strangers begin pretending not to listen. Which means they're listening to everything. I pulled Ethan aside, told him we should talk privately. He shook his head. "We're done hiding things privately." That sentence hit me harder than if he'd shouted. Then he asked Ryan, "How long have you been sleeping with my wife?" Direct, flat, public. Ryan looked at me instead of answering. Coward. "Ethan," I started, but he cut me off. "No, I spent 11 months getting lied to. You can spend 5 minutes uncomfortable." And people definitely heard that. A woman nearby stopped scrolling on her phone. A man across from us openly stared. The gate suddenly felt microscopic. I asked how he found out. That's always the first question. Not because you care. Because some desperate part of you still wants to know where the failure happened. Ethan looked at Ryan, then at me. then said, "You both kept posting airport photos from different angles." I stared at him, confused. "You cropped each other out," he continued, "but reflections exist." And my stomach dropped, because suddenly I remembered an Instagram story, airport bar mirror, Ryan behind me for half a second, tiny, almost invisible, but there. "I noticed it 3 months ago," Ethan said. 3 months? 3 entire months? And he knew that was the moment reality changed. Not because I'd been caught, because I realized he had been living beside me with the truth already inside him. Watching, waiting. "What are you doing here?" I asked again. Quieter this time. And Ethan finally answered. "I wanted to see whether you'd actually get on the plane with him." I had no response, because there wasn't one. He had given me an exit, and I walked straight past it. Ryan finally spoke. "This is between you two." And Ethan laughed. Not loudly, just once. A sharp sound without humor. Interesting timing for integrity. Then came the part I still replay at night. Ethan reached into his pocket, pulled out an envelope, and handed it to me. Inside were printed screenshots, photos, hotel confirmations, messages, everything. Organized, labeled, dated, like evidence in a courtroom. "I hired someone after the airport reflection," he said. Still calm, always calm. "That was expensive, by the way." I started crying. Not gracefully, not sympathetically, just panic, humiliation, collapse. Because everyone around us knew. Every stranger, every glance, every silence. And Ethan still wasn't finished. The boarding announcement started overhead. Final boarding for Miami. People began lining up, normal life continuing around my destruction. And somehow that made it worse. Ethan looked at me and asked, "So what's the plan now?" I said his name, begging without really knowing for what. Forgiveness, privacy, escape, something. Instead, he turned toward the gate counter, walked up to the desk, and spoke quietly to the attendant. I couldn't hear what he said. At first. Then the attendant picked up the microphone. "Passenger Claire Bennett?" My blood went cold. Every sound in the terminal disappeared. "Your husband would like to remind you that your bags have already been removed from the joint checking account." Silence. Complete silence. Then a few shocked laughs. Gasps. Someone literally whispered, "Oh my God." I wanted the floor to open beneath me. Ryan looked horrified. And Ethan? Ethan just nodded once, like a business meeting had concluded successfully. "Enjoy Miami," he said. Then he walked away. Just walked away, leaving me standing there while an entire gate pretended not to stare. Ryan asked if I still wanted to go. And for the first time since the affair started, I looked at him clearly. Not as excitement, not as escape. Just a man standing beside the wreckage of my life, hoping the vacation schedule could continue. I said no. Ryan left anyway. That part hurt more than I expected. Not because I loved him, because some pathetic part of me still expected loyalty from someone who helped betray another person. The divorce was fast. Ethan had prepared everything before the airport. Lawyer, accounts, documents. He wasn't reacting. He had already processed the grief. The airport wasn't discovery. It was closure. Months later, I asked him why he did it publicly. Why not confront me at home? Privately. Quietly. He looked at me for a long time before answering. Then said, "Because every part of your affair existed in hidden places." He paused. I wanted the ending to happen where nothing could hide. And honestly, that was the sentence that stayed, not the airport. Not the announcement, not the humiliation, just that, because he was right. The affair survived through secrecy. Private trips, private messages, private lies. And in the end, the thing that destroyed it wasn't rage. It was exposure. Bright, public, impossible to shrink away from. I still avoid airports now. Not because of the memory itself, because every gate announcement makes my stomach tighten. Every overhead speaker reminds me of standing frozen while hundreds of strangers learned exactly who I was. And the worst part? It wasn't even the announcement. It was realizing my husband had known for months and waited until the exact moment I chose another man over my marriage in public. Only then did he finally let me hear the truth out loud.